Crisis Core is one of the greatest video games that I ever had the pleasure of playing. It honestly may have broke into my top 10 games of all time. Now, to get into the reasons why, we have to first delve into a few things. The game has flaws, every game does, but Crisis Core's flaws are still there, and they're very apparent, at least to me, the things that I don't like. The main story can be pretty difficult to understand at times, particularly the stuff involving all the various projects like Project G and Project S and what Genesis is really aiming for, as well as Genesis just quoting Loveless all the time. Now, I don't mind that, but for some people, and even me to an extent, they will be large hurdles that impede their enjoyment of Crisis Core. But here's the thing. What the game gets right is exactly what it needed to get right. It nails the character of Zack and turns him into one of my favorite protagonists. A character so pivotal for the story of Final Fantasy VII, but a character who is absent for most of Final Fantasy VII outside of a couple of flashbacks. He is someone that is so important to the background and development for so many characters and for so many moments in Final Fantasy VII that it was always just kind of a hole in the game for me, where I just didn't have this missing puzzle piece to finish it all off. And I had never played Crisis Core, so I knew his story existed, but I never experienced it. And I had played Final Fantasy VII Remake, heck, I even did it on the channel, and I love that game. And he seemed like a pretty cool character there. And I was absolutely stunned with the reveal in that game, but after having played Crisis Core, it just recontextualizes everything that I know about Final Fantasy VII, and makes me love it so much more. Zack starts out as this wide-eyed and bushy-tailed protagonist who just wants to become a hero, and everyone around him comments on how out of reach but admirable that his dream is, and it doesn't deter him. And over the course of the game, Zack goes through heartbreak after heartbreak, painful moment after painful moment, but in equal measure, he is able to find some solace and some happiness intermixed with the terror and the pain and the heartbreak. Angeal defects from Soldier, but then Zack meets Aerith. He has to leave Aerith for a time to go on a mission, but on that mission, he befriends Cloud. Angeal dies, and Zack takes up the Buster Sword, and becomes one of the key figureheads for Soldier, and becomes the man at the top of the mountain for the other soldiers and for people like Cloud, and for people who Zack used to be like. It's a very touching moment of Zack inheriting essentially Angeal's role, but with this bittersweet notion that Zack is not only here because he worked tirelessly to reach this point, through his own determination, his own effort, and his own grind, but also because the person he cared so much about, his mentor, his teacher, Angeal, defected and had to die, questioning his own humanity. So it's a very bittersweet moment for him as he's holding aloft his mentor's blade that has become his ideals passed on to Zack. He has achieved his dream in certain ways, but at what cost? Not like Zack could change any of that, but that arguably makes it even bitter, even more bitter, and sad. Because if given the choice, he would go back to being second rank, just so Angeal could still be there. Angeal passed on the notions of loyalty and honor and righteousness down to Zack, but also the existentialism about what it means to be a soldier, to be an angel or a monster, or whether they're even human or not. And Zack starts out confident in his worldview, but as he sees the people he cared about and respected succumb to these questions about their own humanity, Zack begins to question himself, at least on some level, as the pain begins to pile up on him. Can Crisis Core be on the nose? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Can Crisis Core Reunion have some awkward voice acting at times? Absolutely. Can the game itself feel like a PSP game, despite the fact I'm playing it on a non-PSP device? Absolutely. Mainly because it was a PSP game, but yeah, absolutely. That style won't hit for everybody. And does that distract from the highs of the game? At times, sure. But those highs, as I said, are so high that I walk away at the end of the day really only remembering and caring about the good. I don't particularly care that some of the side quests were a bit annoying to find or to complete. You want to know the moments that I'm going to remember? When Angeal died, and Zack is just sitting there in the church crying, and then Aerith comes over to comfort him. Or when Zack first meets Cloud, or Aerith, or the fight between Sephiroth, Genesis, and Angeal. That fight was awesome. It's moments like those that I'm going to remember, that stick out farther than any criticism that I can level at this game. Are the optional missions pretty grindy? Sure. Is melee combat kind of one-dimensional in a lot of respects? Yeah. It's a simplified version of FF7R, but it's still fun. It's still really fun customizing Zack with all these different materials. Hell, when I first discovered Hell Firaga, I'm like, oh yeah, now we are gaming. Got a freaking AoE fire spell that applies pretty much every status effect under the sun, and also has instant death possibilities to it. Hell yeah! Sometimes Rule of Cool is all you need, if you do it correctly. And yeah, like I said, some of the side quests can be kind of annoying to accomplish, like finding the 6 Wutai spies in Midgar. Sure, it's a bit annoying at times, but like I said, I walk away from Crisis Core Reunion not caring about any of that, because Zack is such a lovable protagonist, because building that wagon for Aerith was just heartwarming, because being able to do higher and higher ranked missions felt amazing as Zack got stronger, and as I got better and better materia, and just learned how to play the game. Because the music, oh my god, the music was beautiful, and the string sections that are used in some of these songs in Crisis Core just create this iconic sound that I now associate with Zack. The game fleshes out the character of Sephiroth as well, which I found particularly appealing. It makes the world of Final Fantasy VII feel larger, it makes the soldier division of Shinra feel more fleshed out, it makes Midgar more iconic as a location by building out the people who live there. We got to see Wutai for a little bit, that was sweet! But you know what blew me away? Blow me away! No, not talking about Breaking Benjamin here. You want to know what made this game a good argument away from entering my top 10 games of all time? The ending. When a game nails a section so completely, so entirely, to me, the ending of Crisis Core has become one of the most iconic moments in any game I've ever played. And from this moment on, it will be full spoilers for the ending. I'm just warning you, because I need to talk about it, because it's one of the best endings and moments of any game that I've ever played. Zack desperately clawing his way, finding whatever way he can to get Cloud and himself to safety, returning to Benora, fighting Genesis, who was a complete butthole on hard mode, by the way. I had to grind like there was no tomorrow, just because I never bothered to do any melee materia grinding. But it was fine, because I just built a costly punch build and just annihilated everything. And sure, I'm gonna here and there in the character of Genesis, I don't mind him as a villain, but he won't be the reason I really remember Crisis Core. That reason will come afterwards. Zack's death, that sequence, where you go through the gauntlet of Shinra troops. I swear I wiped out the entire army there. I was spamming Drain Jump and Quake like there was no tomorrow. I got a bigger body count than Thanos in this section. But those helicopters got the best of me. And Zack was overwhelmed, but he kept on fighting. And you knew what had to happen. He has to die here. And sure, there was some part of my brain on Reunion that thought, hey, maybe they're going to tie this into the remake and we'll see how he managed to live there. No, they didn't. They didn't change it. And honestly, I think that was for the best. Because it makes that moment in remake even sweeter. Zack keeps sticking around time and time again until he is unable to even move. He just falls into the ground and lays there. And Cloud crawls over to him and Zack passes the Buster Sword onto Cloud like Angeal did to Zack all those chapters ago. And then Zack dies. And his spirit looks up to heaven and asks who I assume to be Angeal, who is flying down to bring Zack home. And Zack asks if he managed to become a hero. And I did this section on stream, and I'm like, yes, Zack, yes, you did. Like it was almost a reflex for me to say yes at that moment. And again, I assume the angel to be Angeal comes down to fly Zack away. His fight is over. And Zack finally managed to fly in the sky, and he says that it feels good. God! Talk about bringing everything around, coming full circle. And you just know what has to happen to Cloud from this point on. Because it makes it even more tragic when Cloud said he won't forget. Oh, that was brutal. The game makes use of the knowledge that you have from Final Fantasy VII to make these scenes even more emotional and more impactful. And even more tragic. Zack's fight is over, but he managed to achieve his dream. So for him it's a bittersweet ending. But he dies happy in that knowledge. And in an ideal world, a character like Zack would continue to live on. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Give him a chance to be happy. But Final Fantasy VII isn't an ideal world, now is it? Sometimes the good ones die, but they are able to do or impart some good upon the world before the Reaper comes calling. And Zack did a hell of a lot of good. Hell of a lot. Just within Crisis Core. But the ideals of Zack will live on through Cloud and the Buster Sword, and his will was passed down, and even though it takes some time for Cloud to come around, he does at some point. And just the knowledge of the events of Final Fantasy VII, it makes the scenes in Crisis Core so much sweeter, but also so much more emotional in equal parts. Because Crisis Core nails the idea behind a prequel. It fleshes out the backstory and development for characters that wouldn't fit in the original, while making the original game even better and recontextualizing certain scenes and characters to be even deeper. And Crisis Core does a perfect job at doing that. Now, possibly the biggest criticism that I have for the game. I don't know what happened to Siste. Just not to be in the original and for us not to get much in the way of conclusion for her as a character. Maybe they'll remedy that with the remake games. I have no idea where the story of Zack's gonna go from here with the remake games. They have to tread carefully here, and I have faith they will. They haven't let me down in the story department yet. But either way, Crisis Core has become one of my favorite games of all time, alongside Final Fantasy VII. And it's right up there with my favorite prequels of all time, alongside Xenoblade 2: Torn of the Golden Country. And I'm someone who doesn't like prequels. I don't. I find that knowing where everything has to end up takes away from any stakes that are involved with the game. But that's not the case with Crisis Core, because it makes that knowledge that you already have and uses it to its advantage to tell a more engaging narrative. And that's what Crisis Core does. And that's why I love the game so much. Also because Zack is an incredible character, whose story that I really gravitated to. So I'm going to call the video there for today. Thank you for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. If you want to be notified for future videos, please hit the bell button to be notified for when I upload next time. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment down below with your own thoughts, your opinions on Zack and the story of Crisis Core. Did you enjoy the game? Did you not enjoy the game? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. Stay safe and have a great day. Bye-bye, everybody.